Hey, it's another episode for the High Achieving Female podcast powered by No. And today I'm so excited to introduce you to Toi Sweeney. She is the founder and CEO for the Well Dressed brand, an amazing brand strategist, image consultant, and fashion stylist who is focused on helping you ascend to your best dressed self. She's also an Amazon bestseller for Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand and a former QVC style director for 16 years, y'all. Wait until you hear this episode. We're talking all the things, colors, design, ascending to the next version of you, all while dressing to impress. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the High Achieving Female podcast powered by No, where we believe high achieving female leaders deserve to be known. Here, you're going to get the tips, tools, and inspiration you need to network, grow, scale, and balance your business, career, and life. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you today to Toi Sweeney. She is the founder and CEO for the Well Dressed brand. She's based out of upstate New York. She's a Amazon best-selling author of the book, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. And you know what? Before launching her business, she was a big guru over there at QVC, style director for 16 years, y'all. I am so excited to introduce you to Toi. Welcome to our podcast today.
Yay! Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. I'm so excited about this.
Oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about. Okay, so the first thing I want to go in and just start right off with style director for QVC for 16 years. I can only imagine the things that you saw, experienced, the people you met, the stuff you did. Tell me more about that. How was that? What was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was such a ride. I started out in the buying office and I was really terrible at that job. I'm really bad at just sitting and crunching numbers. I'm definitely more of a strategic creative, 100%. So I was really bad at that job and I was about to get fired. And
Okay, let's be real. Let's straight out with all the transparency and truth.
because easy doesn't change you. It does not change you. So you have to really lean into it. And of course, now I can look back and see what a gift that was, but it was not when you're going through a trial, it never feels like a gift. I was on the verge of getting fired and because I was really horrible at my job, but the one part of my job that I was really good at was the merchandising perspective so I get into this job, I'm in my first meeting, it's like my first week of work. I'm sitting there with my buyer and she pulled out this like enamel piece with the vendor that's there. And I don't even think, Sarah, I was supposed to talk. I don't think it was like, sit down, shut up, and you learn. And so the vendor's there with this bracelet, excuse me, and they're going through how many they're going to buy and all this stuff. So I said, can you turn this into a necklace? And I'll never forget my buyer just looked at me. It was like a whole scene out of Devil Wears Prada. She looked at me like I wasn't supposed to speak. And she just smiled a little bit and just looked at him and said, can you make this into a necklace? And then she said, explain. So I explained to him the design that I was thinking of in my head and how it should go and all of these things. And so they decided to do a set. So a few weeks later or months later, they put the set on air. It completely sold out. And so I learned that I was really good at just having an internal like just having that thing, right? That certain je ne sais quoi about what would move, like what would sell. But I was really bad at my job other than that. A coworker came to me and she was like, hey, there's a stylist position open in the image department. And I'm like, wait a minute, we have an image department? Like, what even is? She's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I decided to go back to school for fashion design. I got the job in the image department and I stayed in the image department for the remainder of my career, working up to the point where I was working with and supporting all 30 program hosts. So that it was definitely a good fit. I finished out my fashion design degree. I'd already had my fashion marketing degree. And that was just really putting me on the map. So I got to learn so much about live television, print. I had the opportunity to go to Europe. I met exceptional people like Joan Rivers, Isaac Mizrahi, like so many designers just coming through there, all of the You name it. If they came to QVC, I had an opportunity to work with them on some level, and it was so much fun.
Oh my
It was
gosh. That's phenomenal. Probably the dream job for so many like young up and coming fashion passionate women, right?
oh, yeah.
So cool. Okay, so you were working at QVC 16 years and you're now, like we said in the intro, you're now the founder and CEO of the Dress brand.
Yeah.
You wrote a book, you're an Amazon best-selling author, you have a TV show, you're a TEDx speaker, you're going around the country, the globe potentially to speak about the well-dressed brand. Talk to us about what that is and actually what led you to leaving QVC to go and launch this.
I got into a point where I was stuck, right? There wasn't really anywhere else to go. And I had heard years ago, I heard Rory Vaden say someone had called into his podcast and they were like, "When should I leave my job?" And he said,
Mm,
"I don't think that you should leave your job until you've done everything in that company that you had come to do." So I remember going through the checklist. I'm like, okay, I've gotten to do this, I've gotten to do this, I've gone through my whole list. And the only thing that I hadn't accomplished yet is that I had not gone to Europe with the company. I'd gone on my own, but I hadn't gone with the company. And so an opportunity came up for me to go and do a whole event, fashion style jewelry event in Italy. And so after I came back, I'd already been doing some things outside of the company. I believe in a good side hustle because you
yes,
never
yes.
know when that's right, when that's going to have to become your full-time gig. So I was already working with program hosts on HGTV. I was already working with there was at that time a network called what was it called? I want to say Lifestyle Network, but that's not what it's called. It'll come back to me. But
Okay.
it's since closed. But anyway, I was working with a bunch of different just television personalities, just going into their homes and styling them and just getting my feet wet. And so by the time I had gotten to the point where I was a style director, I was coming off of two major fashion shows for QVC, and I really cut my teeth on those two shows for the Well Dressed brand because I started asking myself questions like, does the color that you wear, will that impact your career and your bottom line? And so what was starting to happen is that as I was just testing out these things quietly, like no one knew I was doing it. I was quietly testing out these theories. When you would go to something that they call internally the threads of what the customers were really saying, it was like something's going on and the hosts they look different, and it wasn't like an in
Mm,
your face, but they were really starting to understand, and they're like the models look different, and it was really
mm.
impacting the bottom line. And so what was happening was the show host was going on and doing an exceptional job at the things that she was hired to do, and then she left me to do the off-air things. And so on just from the on-air like .com things that I was creating and creative director over, I was tripling my salary.
Wow.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what I'm being paid. This is how much money this show made this week.
Yeah.
I think I might be onto something. And so
Yeah.
I just started to keep gathering these pieces. I got my first podcast interview. I started going through these things that I had learned over my 30-year career in fashion, the 16 years at QVC. And at the end of the podcast, he said, my friend Ryan wrote and said, "I think that you should write a book." And I said, "I think that I will." And so that started the groundwork for the secrets of a well-dressed brand. And so that was really it. So I wrote the book. I left no stone unturned. I told you everything that I had learned up until that point about personal branding, style, fashion, the difference between an image consultant and a fashion stylist, the difference between a look and an outfit, what you should
Mm.
have in your closet, why your pricing needs to be elevated, like all of these different things. I left it all in the book.
I love that. Okay, so there's also a lot of like buyer psychology attached to this too, right? Because
Yes.
you even said, there's some comments like, wow, there's something different about her. What? There's nothing like in your face different, but you can sense things. It's actually like increasing the bottom line, which is so interesting. So I want to talk a little bit. I love that you launched this the dress brand and this book. I want to talk a little bit about the dress brand. We were talking offline a little bit about the concept behind this business, and you're really doing something like brand strategy meets image consulting, and you're working with primarily C-suite women that are ready to claim their power, if you will, like stepping into their power, helping them get to the next level, ascend to whatever the next achievement is, or just really helping them show up as they should. So,
Yes.
so how interesting is that? And let's talk about first off, like why is it so important to show up? And I love that. What's the difference between the outfit and the look, right? Like, why do I need something more than just an outfit?
Oh my gosh. There's so many questions in there. So I think that what we have to realize is that what we've been conditioned to think about regarding fashion is that it's become this cheesy slash, but we know that it's important, like kind of thing, right? And so there's this edginess. Some people just like to be classic. The world is so crowded with so much noise around that particular thing. Like we know that it's important, but we don't really know why it's important. And what we think is not typically the truth. And so we grew up in a world where it's dress the way that you want to be addressed, right? Or dress for success, right? And we now say dress the way that you want to be addressed. So everything is just slightly different. And it was all about, oh, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. I say, no, I don't care about that impression. I want to make the right, I don't care about the first impression. I want you to make the right impression, because somebody like a Cardi B makes a different impression than Oprah.
Right.
And Lady Gaga makes a very different impression than like Princess Diana did. And so there's so much in that, and it's not a wrong impression. It's that
Right.
they're making the right impression for the people and the way that they need to be addressed. And
Yes.
so that's the paradigm shift. And so what I do is I really change the way that you think about getting dressed, how you show up, and that you really want to show up and shut it down. And the reason that is so very important is it really comes back to mindset and the psychology of it all. Because the reason that I love this so much is because, Sarah, is because this concept is the only thing that works inside and so you could have wake up one day, we've all been there, and you're not feeling that great. You're just like, oh, I just don't feel, I'm so tired, like I just can't do this. And if my child or my partner or my husband, whatever, one more time they come in here getting on my last reserve nerve, you just don't want to make breakfast one more day, you don't want to scrub the toilet one more day. Even if you were someone that has someone come in, sometimes you just don't want people even in your space. But you getting up and taking a shower and putting on something that makes you feel really good, really powerful, really lovely, really calm, that's going to set you up for success for that day.
This week's episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast is brought to you by the No Global Membership. It's time. Get in the room to network with women you want and need to know. Link to join the membership is in the show notes below. And don't forget, you can also claim your freebie today.
And it makes a huge difference. And so what scientists have figured out is that it's not that the clothing that we wear can hinder something very powerful or can spark something very powerful in us,
Mhm.
or it could spark a hindered performance. And I don't know about you, but I'm not signing up for a hindered performance.
It goes back to the whole idea, and that I truly believe this. When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. When you do good, you basically like just slay the day, right? It is, I think I'm 100% in line with you. Showing up is so critical. Dressing the part, dressing into, we talked about this a little bit too. So you really you use wardrobe as a business strategy.
Yes.
Ladies,
Oh,
ladies. Okay. I don't know about all the listeners out here, but I love fashion. And I love business too. So tell me I can combine my love for fashion and business and put it into a strategy to ascend into the next level of my desiring.
So
You have me there.
listen, and thank you so much because I am so in love with this idea and this concept. I'm very grateful that I get up every morning and do this. And so it really goes back to, again, science really showing us that they did this study that I talk about in the book too. So they took something as simple as like a white lab coat, right? And they broke the study into three people. The first group of people, they were like, okay, you are doctors. And so they ran them through a series of cognitive tests just to see how many mistakes they would make. Were they able to be productive? Were they able to be creative? What's going on if, you're going into this knowing that you're wearing a doctor's coat? The second group, they were like, okay, you're wearing an artist's coat. It was the same coat, but they're like, white lab coat, you're an artist today. So they're like, okay, ran the same series of tests. The third group, they were like, just look at it. We don't want you to think about anything other than whatever it is that your mind sees when you look at this. And so they noticed that the people that thought that they were doctors, going back to mindset, they made the least amount of mistakes. And so what happened is that they put it on. It's like putting on your power every day. They
Right.
put it on and they were like, we're in this position. People are counting on us. I would imagine that this is what they were thinking. What we'd all be thinking, I can't make a mistake. And this is a very important job. All of these things, and they noticed that they were more productive, and that they were making less mistakes. The second group, they did okay, but it wasn't like the first group. The third group, the people that were just like, hey, just look at the lab coat. They were the worst. They didn't attach it to anything. It wasn't like they were just, oh, it's just like we could be anything. So what we learned is that it's really about alignment, and that it's about the idea that you are giving that particular piece of clothing. So it's important for you to have things in your closet. You need to have a brand right closet. You need to have things in there that are going to align with your purpose, that it fits your personality, your image, your vision, your core values. Those are the things that you should have in your closet. So then that way, when you get to the strategy, so that's part one of the strategy, right? Part two of it is that pull out your calendar for that month, that week, that day. Who are you meeting with? What do you want that person to think and feel the first time that you pop up on the Zoom screen, or you enter
Mhm.
into that room, or you get on that stage? What do you want people to think? More importantly, what do you want them to feel? Because Maya
Mhm.
Angelou says that people will forget what you do for them, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. So you want to be not a sensation, but you want to be an experience.
Yes.
Everything about you needs to be an experience. So you start to think about it from that perspective. And then it just becomes a no-brainer, that because everything in your closet is aligned, you know how you're entering into, and then you can lean into whatever group you need to by the color choices that you have, right? So when we think about things like Apple, you have an Apple product, right? And this sea of like black headphones many moons ago, when they came out with all these sleek, white, modern packaging, when we think about colors like that, it's about new beginnings. It's about hope. It makes you think
Mhm.
about their brand motto, think different. And
Mm.
so those are the colors that you want to wear if you want to do something like that. If you're say, hey, I'm meeting with this potential client, or maybe I'm giving a talk at the children's hospital because you're in that nonprofit space and you need to raise money, then you want your strategy to be around the color blue that day, because blue is the color of trust. And so that really is the basic of the concept of using the wardrobe as a business strategy. Is
Oh,
who are you meeting with? What do you want to say? What do you want them to feel? And how can I serve and also be an experience in this moment?
oh, I love, love, love all of this. Let's quickly, for the listeners, break down the difference. You really just said it, but I want you to reiterate it and maybe even rephrase it. What is the difference between working with the well dressed brand or something similar, strategy and image, with just hiring someone to put together outfits for you?
I love the idea of anybody being able to hire someone to put outfits together. There are so many exceptional like mail programs, the different boxes that you can get, and they
Right.
have worked very well for people. You can go to Nordstrom's, they each of them have a stylist on hand. I highly recommend that because they pick things like that for you. An image consultant is going to be someone who knows the rules. They know how many inches your necklace should hit with your hair color, what perfect shade of gray or whatever you need to wear. A fashion stylist tends to focus more on the trends. And so they're going to make sure that you look, that you are maybe leaning more into the color of Vogue or whatever it is that you're doing. So it's great to be able to use, again, those outside resources. And so then I come in and I am an image consultant, a fashion stylist, and a brand strategist all in one. And so I book sessions for my clients with those Nordstrom stylists. They take their lookbook
Mm.
that I create to that stylist, and all of her work is done. And so she won't be suggesting things for my clients that is not a part of what we want to say, where they're going, who they're meeting with, all of these different things, because it's already created for them. And so what I do is I come in, and the first step is that we have a conversation. We talk about who you are, where you're going, what you're trying to accomplish right now versus 5 years from now. And then
Mm.
from that, we talk about first order of business is I give you my style test. And that's also in the book. So you can take the style test right in the book. And then I am also a Fascination Advantage coach. And so that lends itself to giving you a 16-page assessment test. Takes you 4 minutes to complete the test. You get the 16-page report, and that lays out the foundation of your personal brand. So it tells you how the world sees you, what makes you different, what you're already doing already, and then we take those two and then we merge them together and create a very specific lookbook and brand strategy, a brand image strategy for each client. Nothing's duplicated because your personality can't be duplicated.
Right.
It's you. So it's all based on all of those different things. And you would show up and people would be like, huh, something's different. So it's not
Right.
like this drastic makeover, unless you want that. I have a really great before and after on my website that turned into this kind of drastic thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It's just you showing up, and there's something about you that makes people want to lean into you,
I
and they
love
don't know
that.
why.
Love
Just want to
this.
be around you. Yeah.
You called it like brand right your closet. And it's all about how, with these different assessments, how the world sees you, what you want to show up to be or emulate, or the next promotion that you're looking for. Again, it's like all the psychology behind it that I just love. So you had mentioned some of the colors. So if you need people to trust you, blue is the color. What are some of those other colors? Some people say green for money, or what are some of those like power colors?
I think I love to talk about the color red because it's the most controversial. And I
Mm.
think that when you think about the color red, people tend to think power, right? So red is the color of ambition and determination, but it's so controversial. And the reason that it's one of the many reasons that it's so controversial is because men read the color red different than women read it. We would just think, right, from a Google search, oh, I'm going to put on my power red. But if you're meeting with a man that day, or if you're meeting with another strong personality woman, shout out to all my Enneagram eights.
I may or may not be an eight.
I am totally an eight. I may or may not be an eight as well. So you get me? This is why we're getting along so well. And so if you're meeting with another woman, she may read that as aggression as opposed to
Oh.
power. And power, but you being powerful is not necessarily always about aggression. And so that's one that's just very controversial. There's a study that was done, I think it's called the red sneaker effect, where they had this professor wear red Converse for the duration of the semester or whatever to get the students' feedback. And they thought that he was more interesting. So I love the color red for that. They also did one, isn't that kind of cool? And then there was another one
Yeah.
with using the color red where they took a group of waitresses and put them in yellow, they put them in blue, they put them in green, and they put another team of waitresses in red. And the ones that wore red were tipped more.
Wow.
And so I wouldn't wear green for money, I would wear red.
You know okay, all right. Now we got to stop. Now we have to stop right here because there is so much more than just what I'm hearing you say is it depends on your audience. It depends on what you're looking to accomplish. I absolutely love the example you just used about like when you want to go like maybe fundraise or you need to be trusted or you're going to like a philanthropic event wearing blue because that gives like the cool, the calm, the trusting, that effect. And how all of this is so interesting to me. And there's almost like this style feng shui that I've seen and heard, right?
Mhm.
But also probably like your skin tone and your hair color and all of those things come into effect. And are you meeting with a man or a woman or what's the point of the conversation? What are you looking to do? This is so cool. I could geek out over this all day long. I'm definitely getting your book for sure, The Secrets of a Dressed Brand. Tell us how people can learn and hear more from you because we're literally
Oh my
just
gosh.
cracking the conversation on this.
Yeah, so I would say you can go to toysweeney.com. Everything that you could ever want to know about me is pretty much on my website, but feel free to follow me on social. Of course, The Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand you can pick up on Amazon, but it also is sold anywhere books are sold. I just relaunched my television show and I'm so excited. It's going to be streaming on Roku. So if you are somebody who is not on social media, you're like, I don't care less about Facebook. I care less about Instagram. That's okay. If
Yeah.
you have a Roku, you can go right onto your television and type in Toy Sweeney. My app will come up and then you can watch the Dress Brand TV show.
Oh my goodness, I love this. And for those that maybe are interested in working with you, because let's be honest, we have a lot of women in our community our whole entire community is based on ambitious women. So we have a lot of women who are driving and striving to get to the next level. So if someone wants to work with you, I'm assuming they would just go and engage with you at your website and learn about all of your different programs. And you were telling me how you fly out to organizations or to clients as necessary. And you could literally take someone and really help them elevate and ascend to the next level.
Yeah, and so the website is the best place. I also do corporate workshops around why what you wear matters because I've done a lot of work with nonprofits, with also just HR teams trying to get them to understand that the psychology of being able to go into work and show up every day. I have written dress codes for companies and things like that based on their mission and their vision of what their people should do and show up. If any of you are familiar with Donald Miller and Story Brand and
Yep.
Business Made Simple, I created the dress code for that company. You'll always see that they're in shades of gray and blue and white and black. And that was a little bit of a wink and nod from the Well Dressed Brand. There's a
Ooh.
thousand ways to work with me and to work with my team. And so whatever your dream is, I'm sure we can make it possible.
I love that. Like you just gave me a whole nother idea. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Promise me this. Promise me that we will stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Promise me that we can look at having you come to Phoenix, Arizona for our annual summit happening at the end of April. And promise me that you will do a workshop. I know I'm making you give me a lot of promises, but promise me that you will do a workshop on why what you wear matters, because I think this is such great information. And two, I love also the idea of taking your story brand. I didn't even think about that and aligning that with what your staff, your team, and all of those around you are wearing. So it's all in line.
It's
Man,
all about alignment. It has to make sense because if not, then you're doing a disservice to your clients. You
this
really
was,
are.
this was really great. Again, we're just getting started here. So, boy, promise me you're coming back. We're gonna make you serve our community at an even greater scale. Thank you so much for allowing me to introduce you to the high achieving female podcast listeners and everyone. Go get this book. Go connect with her. Get her assessment. Let's all be better dressed for ourselves and for each other.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, until next time, ladies, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast, powered by No, where we believe it's time for high achieving women like you to be seen, heard, and recognized. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be known.